So let's have a look at functions in PHP. We'll start off by looking at functions that you've already encountered. So we'll talk about, for example, Excel and some of the functions that we've already used in PHP already. So what exactly are functions? Well, functions provide us a way of kind of wrapping up some functionality, some code. And the notion is that we can use other people's code, like for example, we might get some from a library, or someone's already done the work for us, they've actually done the work in creating a little piece of code, and we can then use that code or reuse that code in our work. Now we know that there are a large number of functions available in PHP, and if you look in the manual, you'll see for PHP at that URL, there's loads and loads of functions that are available, string functions, numeric functions. It's the same kind of idea as you see in Excel or SQL. In Excel, for example, the sum function is written like this. So you write the name of the function, which in this instance would be sum, and then in brackets you insert a link or the data that the function needs to do its work. Now in Excel what we do is we use the equal sign to indicate that it's going to be a formula. So we go equals sum, open brackets, and then a range of values that are going to be used for the formula to do its work. And what we're effectively doing there is we're kind of passing values, passing data into the function. The function does its work, and then we get a result back out, which in this instance would be 124. So that metaphor, this notion that a function is a piece of code, and what we do is we pass information into the function, it does some work, and then it sort of returns a value back. That's really intrinsic to the way that we describe and use functions. So let's go over that one more time. We have functions have a name of a function, a label, and what we do is we pass values into that function using the brackets. And of course, it could be a single piece of data, it could be multiple pieces of data. If it's an Excel spreadsheet, it's a range of cells or a single cell. And once we do that, we kind of get a result back. Now, when we're dealing with functions, obviously each function has to have a unique name. I mean, that's fairly obvious. You need some way of uniquely identifying that sort of piece of code, that thing that's going to do something for us. And often in programming we say, you call the function. We call this function, we call that function, we pass values into the function. Sometimes you'll see the words parameters or arguments used when it comes to the function. We're passing arguments into a function, we're passing data in through those arguments. Really, those are variables that we use to pass data into it. And then we get a result back. Now, we've seen lots of examples of this already in PHP, and we've used some. So let's just have a look at a couple. For example, strlen, and what that does is that returns the length of a given string. So it does something like this. So my value equals ABCDEF. So the name of the function is strlen. So we go strlen, and then in brackets we pass in the data that's needed for that function to do its work. So in this instance we're going to pass in my value, which we know here you can see is the string ABCDEF. And what happens is that would return a value of 6, because obviously that's the length of the string. How many characters are there in that string? There are 6 characters. Now that function will return a value, and obviously the way that we can use that, that's equivalent to 6. And there's lots of different ways we could use it. We could, for example, just print it out directly, something like that. We could assign it to a variable. Say we had something like this. Say we had another value, space AB space CD, and if we run strlen over that, then we're passing in a string and we're getting out a number, which is the length of the string, and that would return 7 in this instance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there are 3 spaces tucked away in there. And of course what we could do is we could pass that into a variable. We can print those values. We can treat that value that comes from the function just as if it was an actual number, and it is an actual number. We could do maths with it, we can put it in a variable, we can print it out. You can do anything you like that you would normally do with a number. So in this second example, the length takes the value of 7. So let's have a look at how functions are defined. So this is a snapshot from the PHP menu, and look at the white box where it says string, string to upper, string, string. Let's just have a look at what that translates into. So how do we actually read that in a function definition? Well, I'm going to start from right to left and just work our way along. We know that it's going to take a variable. So in this instance, it says it's going to take one variable, and it's made up a name for that variable, $string. Now, of course, you can call yours whatever you like, whatever you're going to be passing into here. That's going to be the string. It's going to be a variable. It's going to contain a string. For string to upper to work, what that requires is it actually requires a string to do its work. So we're going to pass in one piece of data, and we expect that piece of data to be a string. Obviously, string to upper, the bit in blue, is the name of the function. And what will happen is string to upper will work on that string, and then it will return a string. So that's how you read that formal definition from the menu. From right to left, from the help system, from right to left, then we know it's going to take a single value. We know that single value is going to be a string. We're going to pass the string into the function. The name of the function is string to upper, and what will come out of the function in this instance is a string. So how would that actually work in practice? Something like this, for example. Let's create a string called myString, and I'm going to put some words in there, some string. So I pass that one variable that contains a string into string to upper. It's a string, and then we get a result back, and the result that we get from that will be a string. And what string to upper does is it obviously turns all of the characters inside a string into uppercase, so we would get back the string some string, all in caps letters. So the important point here is functions have a name, a unique label, a unique name, and we'll pass information into those functions, and we'll get a result back from using that function. And it's important for us to actually think about what kind of information goes in, what kind of information will come out of those functions. And that's important when it comes to actually defining our own functions. And often what we'll have is we'll have a small bit of code. We think we're going to use this bit of code over and over again. I'll turn it into one of our own functions, a user-defined function, so we can use it again and again.